Hello, and welcome to this tutorial. In today's video we will go through how to set up a connection between a Siemens S7-1200 PLC and a Modbus simulator using Modbus RTU protocol. The PLC will be used as the slave, and the simulator as the master. I have already made a project and I will now add my PLC to it. To do so, I click on Add New Device. Then I choose an unspecified 1200 CPU. If I now click on Detect, it will start search for my PLC with the RS485 module. At the PLC security settings, we want to go without anything that can potentially block the communication. Now that we got our PLC added to the Device and Networks view, we want to go to the Protection and Security tab. If we then scroll down a bit, we will find a box to check that says Permit Access with Put Get Communication from Remote Partner. Then we want to go to System and Clock Memory, and enable both System Memory Bits and Clock Memory Bits. I will use the memory byte 800 and 801, so it won't collide with any other memory bits. If we now click on the RS485 module, we can change the communication settings. But to communicate to the simulator, we don't need to change anything, so I will stick with the preset values. We can now go to the main block and do some programming. If we open up the Instructions tab and go to the Communication Processor map, we will find a map named Modbus that contains the Modbus communication blocks. We want to add one Modbus COM load block and one Modbus slave block to the programming rung. The COM load block will set the parameters to the RS485 module. We want to just activate it at the first cycle of the PLC. So on the request input, we want to add our first scan bit that we added earlier. To the port input, we want to add the RS485 module. And the baud rate and parity input we want to set to the same as we left it in the Devices and Networks view. At the Modbus data block input, we want to add the data block TIA portal made for us when adding our Modbus slave block. To the Modbus address on the Modbus slave block, we want to add which slave ID we want our PLC to be set to. I am going to use it as slave ID 6. And to the Modbus holding register, we want to make a new global data block. Here I will make an array of integer with the array limit from 0 to 9. We then can drag it into the Modbus holding register input of the slave block. Data blocks don't give a specific address to its tags, but we can give them an address by right-clicking the data block and go to Properties. Then we want to uncheck the box that say Optimize Block Access. If we then compile our data block, we can see that all our tags will be given an address. Now the last thing to do is to compile the program and download it to the PLC. I am now online and monitoring the PLC's main block. In the Modbus simulator, we want to go to Setup and click on Read-Write Definition. Here we want to write the slave ID, which is the same as the slave block's Modbus address input. The function tab should be set to holding register, which have the same data address as 40,001. And we want to write a data length from 0 to 10. We then want to go to Connection and make a connection to the PLC. Here we want to make sure the connection setup match the settings from our RS485 module. Then we also want to choose which COM port the USB is connected to. To find which COM port we're connected to, we want to open up Device Manager. And under the COM and LPT tab, we can find where our USB is connected. We can then open up our data block and start monitoring it. If I now modify a value in the Modbus simulator, the slave block will read the value that the simulator master is writing and will store it into the array we made. Thank you for watching this tutorial. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe.